TotalABA offers a powerful feature that allows you to filter each list to pull out relevant information. This is not only good for reporting purposes, but also allows you to streamline your workflows and create check and balances to make sure certain things are getting done within the system. A few examples are canceled appointments for last week, or appointments without sessions, or sessions ready for review. This video will teach you some of the basics of list views. Since TotalABA uses the Salesforce List View functionality, if you wish to get more advanced with list views than this video explains, you can do a quick web search on Salesforce List View Tutorials and likely find multiple results. So let's get started. The first thing to note is each and every section, with the exception of the calendar, has a list view. So for example, if I click on the student section, it takes me to a list. If I click on the appointment section, it also takes me to a list. It's from these lists that you can create these list view filters. Let's start with a simple example from the Students tab. Let's go to the Students section and create a list view that pulls out only male students. The first thing I want to note is when you go to any section, such as the Students tab, it's first going to show you anything that you've looked at recently. So as you can see here, here are my recently viewed students. If I want to see all students, I'll press the Go button next to the All List view from that section. Once you've clicked on that, all students within the system will be visible. Now there's two ways to create new list views. One is to click on the Create New List View link next to the list view, or you can click Edit, give it a new name, and then use the Save As option. Doing it the second way may be more efficient as it makes an identical copy of the current list view that you edited. For my first list view, I'm going to go ahead and create one from scratch by using the Create New List View link. There are 4 steps in creating a new list view. Step 1 is simply to give the list view a name. Step 2 is where we are going to add our filters in order to filter out the relevant information out of this list. In the Fields section, it's going to give a list of fields that are contained on the student page. For my example, I want to find the gender field. Next, I'm going to choose an operator. The set of operators will change depending on what type of field it is that we're filtering on. You can see for gender, I have several options to choose from. I can use equals, not equal to, less than, greater than, less or equal to, greater or equal, contains, does not contain, or starts with. For my example, I'm going to use equals. Now for the value, I'm going to enter in the value that I want the gender to equal in order to show up in this list. In my example, I can either type in the word male, or in some situations, you may see a little lookup button on the right side of the field. If the lookup option appears, you can simply click on it and then check off the option that you wish to insert into the value field. So my list view now has a filter on it that says only pull out the students where the gender field equals male. We'll learn about some more complex filtering in a little bit. But now let's move down to step 3, which is select fields to display. This section allows you to choose which columns of information you want to see in your list. So for my example, I'll select display name, age, first name, last name, and social security number. You can use the arrows on the right side if you wish to reorder the order that the columns will appear. The last step is to restrict visibility. In your situation, you'll either be able to make the list view only viewable to you, meaning that you will be the only one that will be able to see it, or you can make it visible to all users within your center. For this one, I'm just going to leave it as visible only to me. Once I've completed these steps, I'm going to go ahead and press the Save button, and our list view will now be available in the View selector at the top of the page. Looking at my list, I can now see all my male students, and the columns that are displaying in my list are the columns that I chose in step 3. Now let's take it a step further. Let's say I now want to filter out all of the students that are male that live in a specific zip code. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to edit the list view, and I'm basically going to add another filter. So next, I'm going to select a filter directly below gender, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select the filter of zip code, or in this case, home zip code. Again, I'm going to use the operator equals, and I'm going to go ahead and type in the zip code that I'm looking for. Saving this list view will result in 2 filters. It will show all students where gender equals male and home zip code equals 46901. Now let's say there were multiple zip codes that I was looking for. So perhaps I was looking for zip codes for 46901, but also 46902. In that case, I would put a comma in after the initial zip code and then type in the second zip code that I'm searching for. This is called an OR comparison, meaning that when I save it, it will find any students where home zip code equals 46901 or 46902. That's important to note because if I attempted to do this slightly different, where instead of using the comma, I added another filter field for home zip code equals 46902, that would not result in any results in my list. The reason it would not yield any results is that each line item is called an AND comparison, meaning it has to meet all of the criteria. So if I use this filter, the filter would show any students where gender equals male and home zip code equals 46901 and home zip code equals 46902. Since a student cannot have multiple home zip codes, it would not yield any results. So let's put it back the way it was, and we'll save the list view. And now you can see that I have filtered my list down even further. So let's do another example. This time, let's create a list view from appointments. Let's pull a list of all appointments that have no session where the date is in the past. This would be a useful list view for helping to determine if there's been any appointments where sessions have been forgotten. So I'm going to press Go to go to the All List view. And this time around, instead of creating the list view from scratch, I'm going to edit the list view, change the name, and we'll do a Save As to make a copy. So I've given it a name, and as you can see in step 3, it copied the display fields from the list view that I edited. So I can skip step 3 unless I want to change the fields that display for this particular list view. The first thing I'm going to do is select the first field that I want to filter on. In this case, I want to filter on all appointments that are past. So I'm going to search for the filter field of start date, time. For the operator, I'm going to use the option of is less than. Now, one way to handle this would be just to simply type in today's date in the value field. However, if I did it that way, I would have to edit this list view daily and update the date. So Salesforce has a couple tricks for this. The trick for this would just be to simply type in the word today. If I was to save this list view at the current state, it would show all appointments in the past. Now we want to take it a step further. We want to find all appointments that don't have a session. So in that case, I'm going to go to my next filter field. In the fields, I'm going to look for the field named Sessions. Now, session is a numeric value, meaning the session field will give you the number of sessions created for this particular appointment. So what I want to look for is I want to look for an appointment where the number of sessions equals 0. So if we were to save this list view in its current state, it would show all appointments in the past that have 0 sessions. This is basically what I wanted. However, if I was to save this list view, there may be some appointments included that I perhaps don't want to be in the list. For an example, if an appointment was canceled, then it shouldn't have a session created. So I probably want to filter canceled appointments out of this list. Also, there may be some appointments that are not supposed to have a session created. For example, if we have an appointment for a staff meeting, there likely is no session created for that appointment. So we don't want those in there either. So let's add a couple other filters to filter out these various appointments. So I'm going to add a third filter based on the status of the appointment. Then for the comparison, I'm going to say not equal to. Then I'm going to click my lookup option and I'm going to select canceled. That filter will eliminate canceled appointments from my list view. Next, I'm going to add a fourth filter to filter out certain appointment types that I perhaps don't want in this list. So in this situation, I'm going to say appointment type is not equal to, and then I'm going to type in the name of the appointment types I do not want to be included in this list, separated by a comma. So let's look what we have. When we save this, it's going to pull out all appointments where the start date time is less than today, or the appointment is in the past. That also have sessions that are equal to 0. And the status is not equal to canceled, and appointment type is not equal to staff meeting or therapist unavailable. So let's save the list and take a look. So this list view will now appear in the pull down menu, and I would want to check it periodically to see if there's anything in it. And if there is, I know that I need to go back and have my therapists create their sessions for their appointments. Let's do one more example here under appointments. Let's do a list view to find any future appointments that are of a specific type that do not have authorizations associated to them and are in the future. This example would help me find any appointments that were supposed to have authorizations associated to them, but for some reason were not. So I'm going to edit the list view and give it a name. Next, I'm going to put a filter on here to pull up future appointments. So I'm basically going to do the opposite of what I did in the last list view. Start date time is greater than today. On the next row down, I'm going to select the authorization example, and this time I'm going to do authorization equals, and then I'm not going to type anything in the value field. Basically what that does is locates any appointments where the authorization field on the appointment is equal to blank. In other words, there is no authorization selected in that field. So when I'm done, I'm going to press Save As to make sure I make a copy of the list view. And that's going to show me all of the appointments that meet that criteria. Now, if I only wanted to limit that to a specific appointment type, such as ABA therapy, we'll simply edit the list view and add another filter. And there we go. So this is just some of the basic functionality that you can do with list views. As stated earlier in the video, there are several online resources to help you learn more about list views and get more advanced with them if you feel necessary. Thank you.